wake up, the world is already screaming at you. Notifications, deadlines, expectations, the constant hum of more. Before your feet even touch the ground, you're already behind. But tell me, when was the last time you felt truly at peace? Not just relaxed, not distracted, not numbed by a screen. I mean that rare, quiet stillness where the noise fades, and for a moment, everything makes sense. For most of us, that feeling is fleeting, if it comes at all. We've become so used to chaos that silence feels uncomfortable. We chase happiness like it's a finish line, but every time we get close, it moves further away. And that's where the ancient Stoics, especially Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, enter the scene. Because thousands of years ago, they asked the same question we're asking now. How can we stay calm in a world that never stops moving? Marcus Aurelius, in his private journal, The Meditations, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It sounds simple, almost too simple. But if we actually lived by that idea, our lives would change completely. See, we live in a time where we've been trained to control everything: our career, our image, our plans, even how others perceive us. But the Stoics remind us all of that is fragile. Life can pull the rug from under us in an instant. What truly matters is how we respond. So, let's pause for a moment. Think of the last time something small ruined your entire day, maybe a text you didn't get, an argument, a missed opportunity. The event itself wasn't catastrophic, but your mind made it so. That's what Epictetus meant when he said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Read that again, because this one idea could set you free. Every day, you face two realities: the world as it is, and the story you tell yourself about it. And that story, the one you narrate silently in your head, can either be a prison or a path to peace. The Stoics' new peace wasn't found in a quiet life. It was found in a quiet mind. A calm that doesn't depend on what's happening around you, but on how you choose to interpret it. By the way, if you haven't seen my video where I break down Marcus Aurelius' advice for when life feels unfair, I'll leave the link in the description. And in my other video on Epictetus, I shared how to stay calm in the middle of chaos. Both of those will give you an even deeper perspective on what we're about to uncover here. I'd highly recommend you check them out, of course, after watching this one, because what we're exploring now is not just about peace, it's about freedom. Here's where the story deepens. Let's say you're in traffic. Someone cuts you off. Instantly, your blood boils. Your mind starts building a story. They disrespected me. But did they? Or did you decide to be disrespected? Seneca would say in that split second, you had a choice. A chance to protect your peace or to throw it away. And that's where most of us lose control, not to life, but to ourselves. Inner peace isn't about avoiding chaos. It's about mastering your perception of it. Imagine being so centered that nothing outside can shake you. That's not detachment. That's power. We think peace is found in controlling everything, but the Stoics teach the opposite. Peace is found in letting go of control over what doesn't belong to you. And the paradox? When you stop trying to control everything, you finally begin to master yourself. That's when real calm begins. Not when the world quiets down, but when your soul does. Now, let's push this further, because this is where the mind gets tricky. You can understand all of this intellectually and still lose yourself in emotion when life hits hard. That's because knowledge doesn't equal mastery, repetition does. Every day, the Stoics practiced like mental athletes, training their minds for resilience, reflection, and stillness. Marcus Aurelius would start his day by reminding himself, "Today, you will meet the arrogant, the greedy, the ungrateful, but remember they are like you." He wasn't being cynical. He was being prepared. When you expect challenges, you don't get blindsided by them. You become unshakable because you've already made peace with what's coming. That's the first real Stoic habit of inner peace anticipation, without anxiety. To expect difficulty without letting it poison your mood. Think of it like a mental vaccine. You expose yourself to discomfort so that when life hits you, you're immune to chaos. But here's the twist, and this is what most people miss. Peace isn't passive. It's not sitting in a quiet room pretending everything's fine. Peace is active strength, the ability to hold your ground when the storm comes, and it will come. You'll lose people. You'll face setbacks. You'll be tested. But what the Stoics discovered is this: those storms don't destroy you, they reveal you. They show you whether your calm is built on sand or stone. We'll go deeper soon into how Stoic practice actually rewires your perception, how to turn everyday irritation into power, and how to build peace so solid it becomes your default state. Because the truth is, inner peace isn't found, it's trained. But before we get there, ask yourself this: if tomorrow the world fell apart, your plans, your comfort, your control, would your mind stay still? If not, maybe that's where the work begins. When we left off, the Stoic idea of peace was beginning to sound less like escape and more like mastery. Yet most of us still feel that inner pull, the thought that if we could just fix our circumstances, peace would finally arrive. Epictetus would smile gently at that illusion, because to him, peace had nothing to do with circumstances at all. He taught that the universe is divided into two domains: the things within our control and the things beyond it. Everything we love, fear, chase, or lose belongs somewhere on that line. The key to peace, he said, is knowing where to stop fighting. But here's the question most people miss: what happens when the thing we must accept is ourselves? That question bothered even the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius wrote entire pages trying to silence the voice of self-criticism that echoed through his mind. You have power over your mind, he reminded himself, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He wrote it not as advice for others, but as medicine for himself. Think about that. The emperor of Rome, ruler of millions, still had to remind himself to breathe, to stay calm, to stop arguing with reality. And yet, even Marcus' serenity was not passive. He believed that peace was earned through discipline, the discipline of choosing your response before the world chooses it for you. But what about Seneca? He agreed that peace comes from within, but he added a twist. Peace must be tested. No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, Seneca warned, for he is not permitted to prove himself. That's where many seekers of calm go wrong today. We crave tranquility like a product: meditation apps, soft playlists, motivational quotes. But the Stoics saw tranquility as a side effect of something deeper: the constant confrontation with what disturbs us. Seneca didn't tell his students to hide from storms, he told them to train in them, because the mind that never wrestles chaos never learns balance. But here's the paradox: how can you train in chaos without becoming chaotic yourself? Epictetus answers: by beginning every morning with one decision, to distinguish what depends on you and what does not. That single mental act, repeated daily, reprograms the mind. Now imagine this: you wake up tomorrow. Before you reach for your phone, before you scroll or check notifications, you take one breath and whisper, "Today, I will concern myself only with what I can control." Instantly, your attention shifts from the infinite noise of the world to the narrow field of your influence. It's almost physical, a contraction of anxiety into something manageable. But does that really work? Or is it just ancient optimism? Here's where the story gets interesting. A few years ago, psychologists ran experiments mirroring Stoic exercises. Participants were asked to write down everything stressing them out, then cross out the items beyond their control. Within minutes, their reported anxiety dropped dramatically. The Stoics were right to millennia early. And yet, there's still a deeper layer. Because the Stoics weren't teaching us to ignore what we can't control, they were teaching us to engage with it differently. Acceptance wasn't surrender, it was alignment. When Marcus wrote, "Love only what happens," he wasn't suggesting blind obedience to fate. He was describing the art of participation, of joining the flow of events so gracefully that resistance dissolves. But that raises another puzzle. If peace means loving whatever happens, what about injustice? What about pain we should resist? This is where Stoicism becomes truly difficult. Seneca warned that peace without conscience is merely apathy. He said, "The wise man is at peace, not because he feels nothing, but because he does the right thing without being shaken by the wrong." Think about that. Real peace isn't numbness, it's unshakable integrity. It's the ability to act in chaos without letting chaos act through you. Still, how do we develop that kind of inner armor? Epictetus' answer was brutally simple. Practice discomfort. He advised his students to go days without luxuries, to imagine loss, to confront fear deliberately. Because, he said, only the educated are free. The word educated didn't mean scholars, it meant those trained by adversity. Now pause for a second. If peace requires discomfort, then maybe our search for a comfortable life is exactly what keeps peace away. Every time we chase convenience, we weaken the muscle that could carry us through hardship. And when difficulty inevitably returns, as it always does, we break. But here's where a curiosity loop opens. What if discomfort itself could be enjoyable? What if the very act of facing struggle calmly deliberately produced a deeper happiness than pleasure ever could? Seneca thought so. He wrote that the soul grows most serene when it learns to prefer challenge over ease. Not because pain is good, but because it reveals what we truly are. Let's test that. Recall a time you went through something difficult: heartbreak, loss, failure, and somehow, later, you felt lighter. Why? Because resistance fell away. Because in that moment, life stripped you of illusion, and what was left was real. Stoic peace is that recognition, that reality, even when painful, is safer than fantasy. But why does the mind resist this so fiercely? Why do we cling to illusion? Marcus thought he knew. It is not death or pain that troubles us, he wrote, but the fear of them. Fear that's the engine behind all our unrest. Not the events, but our anticipation of them. This leads us into a loop that Marcus never fully resolved, one that keeps modern minds restless too. If peace comes from within, why do we still seek it in others, in success, in validation? Perhaps because we confuse calm with control. We think being unbothered means having everything under command. The Stoics saw it differently. Peace begins when control ends. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, wind tearing through your clothes, rain drenching your face. You can't stop it. You can only breathe. That breath, that tiny circle of choice, is where your freedom lives. Everything beyond it is weather. But then, there's another paradox. If you stop fighting the storm, what stops you from drifting into passivity? That's where Epictetus and Seneca subtly disagreed. Epictetus leaned toward detachment. Seneca leaned toward engagement. One said, "Withdraw within." The other said, "Serve the world." Marcus tried to unite them. He reminded himself, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging sea falls still around it." Notice the imagery, not escaping the sea, not hating it, standing firm within it. The rock doesn't control the storm, yet the storm can't destroy it. That's the essence of Stoic peace. Participation without possession. But maybe there's something missing here, something the Stoics didn't talk about enough. They mastered control, they practiced acceptance, but did they fully understand compassion? Seneca hinted at it near the end of his life. He wrote to a friend, "No man can live happily who has regard to himself alone. You must live for your neighbor if you would live for yourself." And there it is, the secret bridge between calm and kindness. Inner peace, the Stoics finally realized, cannot survive isolation. It deepens only when shared, because the moment you wish peace for another, your own begins to grow roots. But let's not settle yet. There's another question we rarely ask. Can peace exist without purpose? Epictetus thought no. He said that those who drift aimlessly are shipwrecked souls. To him, peace came from knowing your role in the cosmos, no matter how small. The carpenter, the parent, the philosopher, each must play their part with excellence and detachment. That's why the Stoic morning meditation wasn't just about control. It was about recommitment. What duty is calling me today? That's what Marcus asked himself at dawn. Peace, he found, wasn't found in stillness, but in service. And here's a curiosity loop that keeps viewers leaning in. If peace depends on purpose, then what happens when you lose your purpose? When life rips away the identity you've built? Epictetus lost everything: his freedom, his health, yet found peace anyway. How? Because his purpose shifted from external to internal. His job was no longer to shape the world, but to shape his soul. That's the kind of reprogramming modern minds rarely do. We chase goals until we become them. Then when we lose the goal, we lose ourselves. But the Stoics built a self that no loss could erase. Their identity was made of principles, not possessions. And that's why their peace endured. But here's the loop that keeps the audience engaged. The tension will resolve later. If peace is found in letting go, why do so many who let go end up feeling empty? What if there's a missing ingredient in Stoicism itself, something even Marcus Aurelius struggled to name? Keep that question alive for now, because soon we'll step into that mystery, into the part of Stoicism most people never read, where peace meets passion and calm turns into strength. You've probably noticed, even when we claim to have let go, a part of us still clings to control, to outcomes, to the way life should unfold. We say, I've accepted what I can't change, yet deep down, we're hoping that by accepting it, the universe will reward us by changing it anyway. It's a hidden contract we never signed, but always expect to be honored. That's the paradox of peace. We want peace, but only on our terms. Epictetus warned against this subtle trap. He said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. But what does that really mean in practice? It means you stop negotiating with reality. You stop bargaining with what is. Yet, there's something uncomfortable here, something most people never admit. If we truly surrender control, what's left of us? Who are we without our plans, our preferences, our desires? That's the fear most of us never voice, that in releasing control, we'll lose ourselves. But Stoicism offers a radical alternative. What if true self isn't found in control, but in clarity? Imagine a sailor steering through a violent storm. The waves are merciless, the winds unpredictable. He doesn't control the sea, yet he adjusts his sail, tightens his grip, steadies his breath. That's Stoic peace, acting with purpose amid chaos, without expecting the ocean to calm for your convenience. Here's the catch. Though even Stoicism can be misunderstood, many people mistake emotional suppression for emotional control. But Stoicism doesn't tell you to feel nothing. It tells you to feel fully and then choose your response wisely. So, what happens when the storm doesn't pass? When peace feels impossible and your discipline starts to crack? What do you do when acceptance turns into apathy? We'll get to that, but before we go there, it's important to understand why this happens. Because peace isn't a permanent state, it's a practice. And that practice is tested precisely when life gets loud, when people disappoint you, when plans collapse, when everything you built starts to crumble. That's when philosophy stops being theory and becomes survival. Epictetus didn't preach from comfort. He was born a slave, beaten, humiliated. Yet he discovered a freedom that his masters could never touch, the freedom within his own mind. He realized that suffering doesn't come from events, it comes from our interpretation of them. That insight alone changes everything, because if suffering is interpretation, then peace is perception. And this is where most people give up. They try to control their thoughts directly. I'll stop being negative. I'll think positive. But the mind doesn't work like that. You can't bully your way into peace. Instead, Stoicism suggests something deeper. Detach from judgment. Don't label events as good or bad. Simply observe. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But wait, if we stop judging everything, do we risk becoming indifferent to life? If nothing is good or bad, what motivates us to act at all? That question is the key to understanding the difference between apathy and tranquility. One is lifeless. The other is alive with purpose. And that's where most people misstep on their Stoic journey. They confuse emotional detachment with emotional death. Stoic peace isn't cold, it's clear. It's not about escaping life, it's about engaging with it fully, without being enslaved by it. When you reach that state, something fascinating happens. The noise of the world stops dictating the rhythm of your heart. You begin to operate from within. Your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions all begin to align around one steady principle. This moment is enough. And that's not just philosophy. That's transformation. Now, if you've come this far, you might be thinking, okay, but how do I actually train my mind to stay in that state? That's exactly where we're headed next. Because peace isn't just about understanding these ideas intellectually. It's about building daily habits that reinforce them. And in the next part, we'll uncover how the Stoics trained themselves to embody calm, even when life around them was chaos itself. And speaking of chaos, by the way, if you haven't seen my video where I explain how to stay calm in chaos, it ties perfectly with what we're about to explore. I'll leave the link in the description, but stay with me till the end, because what comes next might just change the way you see yourself forever. Because here's the truth: peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the mastery of presence. Have you ever wondered why peace feels so temporary? You meditate, breathe, journal, and for a moment, the storm quiets. But then one text, one thought, one reminder, and suddenly, your calm is gone. It's almost as if life itself is testing how much stillness you can hold before cracking. The Stoics believe that's exactly what happens. Life isn't punishing you, it's training you. Every challenge is a test, every discomfort a lesson in mastery. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." It sounds poetic, but it's also practical. Because peace isn't found in escaping obstacles, it's built by walking straight through them. You can't meditate your way out of chaos if you still fear it. You can't affirm your way into peace if you still depend on circumstances to feel it. True tranquility is forged in friction. The person who finds calm only when things are calm has learned nothing. The Stoic finds calm in fire, and yet there's a deeper truth most people never explore. We chase peace like it's a destination, something to reach once the noise dies down. But peace is not a place. It's a perspective. It's not somewhere you arrive, it's how you travel. Think about it. Even the great Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus, lived in chaos. They dealt with betrayal, loss, illness, war. They didn't wait for peace, they created it from within. Because peace isn't passive, it's active. It's the decision to show up differently, again and again, no matter what the world throws your way. And that's where most people fail. We want instant calm, instant mastery, instant clarity. But philosophy, like life, doesn't reward shortcuts. You don't rise above chaos by rejecting it, you rise above it by learning to breathe inside it. Every moment of frustration, every wave of anxiety, every disappointment, they're all invitations. The universe saying, Can you hold your peace now? And every time you say yes, every time you choose composure over reaction, your soul strengthens. Slowly, quietly, you become unshakable. But let's be honest, staying calm in theory is easy. Doing it in the real world, when people test you, when plans collapse, when your mind spins out of control, that's where it matters most. So how do you anchor yourself in the middle of life's storm? Start by watching your thoughts the way you'd watch passing clouds. Don't chase them. Don't fight them. Just notice. Because thoughts lose power when you stop believing every one of them. Then, anchor yourself in what Epictetus called the sphere of control. Ask yourself, what here is truly up to me? Your emotions, your effort, your response, that's all. Everything else belongs to the world, not you. Let it go. And finally, build rituals of calm. Not grand gestures, small daily disciplines that reinforce your control. A morning silence before the day begins. A pause before replying in anger. A deep breath before judgment. These moments seem small, but they're sacred. They're where your mind learns that peace is always available, even in chaos. Because here's the secret: you don't find peace once and keep it forever. You cultivate it daily, intentionally, the same way a Stoic cultivates virtue. It's a lifelong practice. And when you begin to live that way, something miraculous happens. The world doesn't stop being chaotic, but it stops having power over you. You no longer chase calm, you are calm. You no longer seek happiness, you embody it. That's the Stoic's true freedom, to be untouchable by the noise of life, to walk through the storm and smile, not because you're numb, but because you've remembered who you really are. But here's a question that lingers if peace is found within. Why do some people, even after years of practice, still feel trapped by chaos? Why do some never break free from anxiety, no matter how much philosophy they consume? That's a question we explore deeply in another video, How to Stay Calm in Chaos. In that video, I shared the Stoic techniques that help you maintain clarity, even when the world around you falls apart. I'll leave the link in the description. I highly recommend watching it next, because understanding Stoicism isn't the end, it's the beginning. The real test starts the moment you close this video and return to your life. The question is, will you remember what peace really is? When life demands you prove it? If you found value in this video, join our growing community of thinkers by subscribing to this channel if this is your first time here, and like this video so that more people can get this value as well. New videos drop every week, each one crafted to challenge your perspective and help you master yourself. Until next time, walk the path with courage, stay calm in chaos, and remember, peace isn't something you become.